Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, and it's time for that live stream show. Hopefully everybody's ready for a good show tonight. We're ready to talk fishing. We're ready to give away free stuff and have a great time doing it. Every Sunday night right here on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Trovo, TikTok, everywhere we're streaming. We give away $1,500 in free stuff. That's right, you got a chance to win a 5-hour half day for 2 guests, 10-hour all day for 2 guests, 39-hour for 1, and a Hubbard's Marina swag pack all during the show. All you have to do is tune in and watch live every Sunday night. Comment once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. That enters you for a chance to win. So stop by Facebook, find the Hubbard's Marina page, give us a like, find the live video, give it a like, comment one time, anything you want. Maybe tell us where you're watching from. You're entered for a chance to win. You can watch live on TikTok, on Twitter, on Trovo, Twitch, YouTube, wherever you want to watch live is fine, but you do have to comment once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win. Then sit back, relax, and watch live. At some point randomly, we're going to pop some names up on the screen and announce winners. Then you got 5 minutes or less by texting us the your full home address to the phone number on the screen is how you claim that free trip. So watch live, comment once, you're entered for a chance to win. Then you got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address if you see your name announced live on the screen. So sit back, relax, enjoy the live show. Welcome to the Hubbard's Marina Off the Hook live stream show every Sunday night right here at 7:30 p.m. We want to give a shout out to our friends over at Gator Jim's Tackle. If you haven't stopped by to see our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle, you're missing out. 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Petersburg. Definitely stop by and say hello to our friends over at Gator Jim's Tackle. Huge selection, killer deals, great people. You definitely want to stop in and say hello and tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. Also, we want to make sure we give a shout out to all those who are sending stars. We had a lot of star senders kick us off tonight. We had Jasmine Marie, Keith White, Sam Lang, James McCullum with the big 500, Todd Stutzman, Robert Riggs, Adam Franklin, Gary Camage, Scott Flynn, Jennifer Neal. Lots of star senders getting us kicked off right tonight. Also, want to make sure we give a shout out to our supporters out there in our supporters club on Facebook. There's even a few supporters on YouTube. Now you can even become a supporter on TikTok as well. So the supporters group, though, where we have our live after shows, is on Facebook. So big shout out to all those supporters in our supporters group on Facebook. It's always a good time in there. Lots of behind the scenes info. You get news a little earlier, and you get that live after show every week. So tune in to our supporters group. It's only $4.99 a month, and you get a lot of access, behind the scenes info, and that weekly after show after this live show that happens in that private Facebook group. So check out becoming a supporter today. Remember, every live show we started off by doing a few little announcements like this. Then we show you what we're catching now. Then we get into the weather, tell you what's going on now with the weather, what's coming up. Then we get into some announcements on seasons, reminders, what's going on, what's coming up, and then your questions. If you have a question that you want answered live during the show, drop it right in a text message to the phone number on the screen. These comments, they go by really fast. We have hundreds of people watching on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube, so the comments go too fast for us to see each one. So if you have something that you want us to mention live on the show, some question you want answered live, you have to text us at the phone number on the screen. Big shout out to Larry White with a big 500 stars. Don Shuitt as well with a big 500. Chris Robinson, what's up, man? Anthony Barnes with a big 500. Robert Bush, what's up, dude? Appreciate y'all very much. Now, let's get into the photos and show you guys what we're catching. Inshore right now, we're seeing some of these redfish. The redfish bite has been pretty productive around the area, especially on those oyster bars, mangrove shorelines. We're seeing a lot of the redfish action as of late. Snook really good over the nighttime period, early morning, and we are still seeing some snook in the back and upper bay areas as well during the day, but a lot of snook out on the beaches and in the passes, and really out on the beach early morning is a great time, or around dusk and the passes overnight, early morning, right around sunrise is good. During the day, you got to go hunting for them out on the flats, around the mangroves. We're seeing a lot of those snook ambushing baits. But think like a fish, right? They get warm just like you and I do. They're looking for those shaded areas, and they're looking for a little reprieve from the heat. Those deeper pockets, those areas where they can get a little bit of a cooler temperature is definitely going to hold more predatory fish. Big old snook from our friend John. This is John's Pass legend, John Sasser. He is catching some really nice fish around the pass right now. They're really fired up. We're seeing a lot of the tarpon around the area too. Tarpon fishing going really well. Tarpon catching going really well, I should say. And seeing a lot of trout on the edges, dock lights, bridge lights at night, seeing some nice trout action. During the day, catch them in those potholes or on those drop-offs around the flats. Seeing a good number of trout despite warming temperatures. So really good all-around inshore bite. There's a ton of mangrove snapper biting well. We're seeing still a surprising number of sheep's head around the docks too. There's black drum pretty active in the area, spotty flounder, spotty pompano, lots of sharks. So good opportunities inshore. Now let's move near shore and offshore and show you guys what we're catching a little bit deeper now. Definitely some red grouper action fired up for us. This is our last week of red grouper action before they close for the remainder of 2024. So if you want to get out there and catch some red grouper, this is the week to do it for sure. We're still seeing the occasional hogfish around. Not as many hogfish as we catch in the cooler months. Hogfish are definitely biting best October-ish through around March, April-ish. They are open all year. We can keep hogfish all year if they're 14 inches to the fork, but they definitely bite best for us in those cooler months for sure. Same with the kingfish. We see kingfish mostly around spring and around fall. We definitely see a big push of kingfish in those spring and fall runs, but you never know. Over the summer, we do occasionally run into them. This one was caught on a recent 10-hour trip. This was last Sunday. 10-hour trip caught this nice big old kingfish. 39-hour trips catching a lot of big scamp, a lot of nice red groupers, solid mangroves right now. Some really good opportunities out deep on the Flying Hub 2, on the Florida Fisherman on the 39-hour or 44-hour. We're crushing the fish offshore. Great opportunities. Near shore, seeing some of these nice mangrove snapper. Offshore, bigger mangrove snapper in these studly red snapper as well. So good opportunities to get out there and catch some fish for sure. And it's a good time of year. Really hot, but so is the fishing. Look at our buddy Ken here. What happened there, Ken? This was one of my favorite photos so far of red snapper season. On the left, you see the nice red snapper. On the right, you see what our brains look like at Hubbard's Marina in the summertime. Definitely some nice fish, though, being caught. A great opportunity to get out there on the water. And want to give a shout-out to our friend over in Apollo Beach, Jack's Smoke Shack. If you haven't stopped by and checked out Jack's Smoke Shack in Apollo Beach, you're missing out. I personally haven't had the opportunities to stop by Jack's Smoke Shack, but he does come fishing with us. And we were blessed the other day at Hubbard's Marina. He stopped by for a 39-hour trip and brought an 8-pound smoked Boston butt over to the marina. It was superb pulled pork. It was amazing. So stop by and see our friend Willie over at Jack's Smoke Shack. Josh is going to drop the link in the chat. There's a Facebook group you can join, and he will tell you when he's cooking and when you can stop by and pick some up. So stop by and see our friend over at Jack's Smoke Shack. Really good food, let me tell you. If you're around Apollo Beach, definitely recommend checking it out. So Josh will drop the link in the chat on Facebook. Also want to give a shout out. We had some star senders there. Jeff Reedy with a big 1,200 stars. Thank you, Jeff. Don Schuett with another 500. Appreciate you, buddy. Larry White as well. Thank you guys for the stars while we were showing the photos there. So we showed you what's biting inshore. We showed you what's biting near shore and offshore. Now, let's get into the weather and show you guys what's going on weather-wise. Popping over to hubbardsmarina.com, the best website in the world. We've got this nice little pop-up reminding you to vote for the best of Tampa Bay Times. This is important. We need your help. Make sure you're voting. And all you do is go to our website, click that little thing, then hit Arts and Entertainment, hit Local Tourist Attraction, scroll down and hit Hubbard's Marina, and then add vote. And then go back to new category, go over to Sports and Recreation, make sure you hit Fishing Charter Boat, and vote for Hubbard's Marina. So again, Arts and Entertainment, best local tourist attraction, then Sports and Recreation, best fishing charter boat. Then right over here, we've got shopping and gift shop, and then you guessed it, Hubbard's Marina. So lots of voting categories, 3 different voting categories that we need your help with. You can vote daily all the way until the end of June. So make sure you're voting daily, and then pop back over to Hubbard's Marina. Under fishing trips, we're going to hit weather links. Under the weather links tab, we're going to click that 5 and 10 hour forecast area first. And look at that, guys. Look at that beautiful blue color as far as the eye can see. Let's all cross our fingers, toes, say a prayer, knock on some wood, and hope and pray that this stays the same, because this dark blue, a little bit of light blue in there, but this dark blue and a little bit of light blue shows that we have moderate winds as far as the eye can see, and that means moderate seas, and we are into summertime here. It is official. This is a summertime pattern, and it's beautiful. This time of year, it is exceptionally, excruciatingly humid and hot, but we have very low winds, very low seas, and if we don't have any tropical disturbances, we generally have very, very beautiful weather, and just got to deal with the heat. And that's what we're looking at. As you see, the highest winds forecasted are Tuesday, Wednesday, and into Thursday, and it's 12 miles an hour. It gets to a whole 1.5 foot. So that is it. 1.5 foot, 12 miles an hour is the highest forecasted wind and sea for the next 9 days. However, one thing I want to show you guys that's freaking people out, that frustrates me every year. Let's show you what frustrates me every year is this right here. So this is not a great, I love you Fox 13, but this is, can you type in Bay News 9 for me? Thank you. 7-day forecast. Perfect. So this scares people who are not from Florida every year, and I wanted to talk about it for a minute because it's silly. We are in summer, and you know what that means, Josh? Can you zoom in a little bit? I don't have a keyboard to hold control. So you can see here every day there is a 50% chance of rain. Every day there is a cloud with a bunch of rain coming out of it in front of the sun. So every day we get a ton of phone calls from people. Is my trip still going to go? It says it's going to rain. This is Florida, y'all. So we're going to go back over to the wind finder forecast. You can see here overall the forecast is 12 miles an hour or less for the next 9 days. No sea conditions forecasted, just absolutely gorgeous weather. But every day there's a little storm cloud with some rain coming out of it because of that summertime pattern. So keep that in mind. It is summertime in Florida, and often we see this where we get that summertime pattern going, and in the afternoons we're going to get those rain showers that come through, and it's going to rain somewhere, guaranteed every day. So a 50% chance of rain. All that means is there's a 50% chance that somewhere in that entire 9-county viewing area they are going to get rain for a few minutes. So virtually, in reality, the rain chance should be 100% every day in the state of Florida in the summer, because every day we get those afternoon thunderstorms. So long story short, the weather is gorgeous. It does not get any better weather-wise, forecast-wise, looks spectacular, but we do have that high chance of rain. So don't let the high chance of rain scare you. Go out there and enjoy Florida. Now, heat and humidity is a challenge. So I've been emphasizing this to guests going fishing with us, people who are visiting. You have to stay hydrated. If you're going to go fishing with us tomorrow, today is Sunday. If you're going fishing on Monday, you should start drinking at least a gallon of water on Monday. At least 1 fluid ounce per pound of body weight. So if you're 140 pounds, you should drink more than a gallon of water the day before you go fishing. Then the day you go fishing, you should be slamming water through the day. You need to drink a ton of water. You need to hydrate. And you can't get hydrated on a boat offshore in the sun. You have to get hydrated the day before, preferably 2 days before you start drinking water, and stay hydrated because it's really important. When you get out there on the boat, you don't want to spend some money, get out there on the boat, and then all of a sudden you're cramped up, you're overheated, you feel tired, you feel lethargic. You want to get out there offshore and you want to enjoy your trip, right? In order to do that, you got to stay hydrated. You got to get hydrated, and then once you're on the boat, you got to stay hydrated because you don't want to cramp up, you don't want to stop fishing, you don't want to feel bad offshore. When it's very calm and very beautiful out, the only thing that can ruin your trip is your bad decision not to get hydrated before your trip, or not to stay hydrated while you're offshore, because one person can ruin the trip for everyone, especially the Flying Hub 2, that 12-hour extreme trip. It's borderline dangerous if you get out there and you're unhydrated or not hydrated, or you're not drinking water. If you're on the Florida Fisherman on a 39-hour trip, it's a lot easier because there's an air-conditioned cabin. 5 hours, 10 hours, 39 hours, 12-hour night trips, all easier because that air-conditioned cabin. If you're on that 12-hour extreme trip, it's even more extreme this time of year where there's no air conditioning, there's not a lot of escape from the heat. You got to stay hydrated. You got to get hydrated and then stay hydrated. So seriously, can't emphasize that one enough. So weather is beautiful, no wind, no seas, but it's excruciatingly hot. So if you're going fishing on Tuesday, you should be drinking water starting Sunday and stay hydrated on the boat. Really important. So we've talked about what we're catching now. We've talked about the weather. Now it's time to get into some of your questions as well. We're on a full moon right now, working our way to that last quarter moon. So we've got a lot of moving water, a lot of flushing bait, a lot of actively feeding fish. The night bite has been really good for snapper. Reminder about the seasons. We always have someone ask about fishing seasons, so we're just going to get in the habit of reminding everybody at the start of every show. Red grouper, amberjack, gag grouper, red snapper, and triggerfish. Those are the only 5 fish that have seasons. We catch hundreds of other fish all the time, and they don't have any seasons. But everybody gets hung up on the fishing seasons, but it's really only 5 fish. Red snapper are open now. They are open June 1st through end of day, August 27th for us at Hubbard's Marina and any other charter boat or party boat in the Gulf of Mexico. Gag grouper, gonna open September 1st. We know this. We've been saying this, and it's only gonna be open for a week, maybe 2, possibly 3 weeks. Definitely not, probably not 4 weeks. So we know it's going to be open September 1st, and we know gag grouper season is going to be about 1 to 2 weeks, maybe 3 at most. And it sounds like this upcoming week in Houston, I'm flying out to Houston for the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council meeting. We should hear final word on that gag grouper season coming up next week in Houston, so stay tuned for that. So red snapper, June 1st through August 27th. Gag grouper opens September 1st through probably like September 10th through like 15th, I would guess. But we'll find out next week for sure. Red grouper open January 1st. They're going to close at the end of June for the remainder of the year. Amberjack open May, September, and October. Triggerfish open every single month all year except June and July. So those are the 5 fish. Those are the 5 seasons. That's what we're waiting for. Okay, guys? With that, I think it's time to give away our first free trip of the night. We're going to give away let's do the 5-hour half day for one lucky winner. 2 guests, 5-hour half day. Winner is, drum roll please, Tony Barnes from Plant City. Congratulations. Speaking of getting hydrated, that's my 2nd gallon of water I'm almost done with. Gotta stay hydrated, guys. Congrats, Tony Barnes. Even though you like Duke's mayonnaise and not Hellman's mayonnaise, you're still an okay guy. So congrats, my friend. You got 5 minutes or less to claim your free trip by texting us the phone number, your full home address to the phone number on the screen. That's how you claim your free trip. You got 5 minutes or less. Text the phone number on the screen, your full home address. With that, let's go and get into your questions. First question of the night. Are there any dates in October that Gag Grouper and Red Snapper are going to be open at the same time? Not for us at Hubbard's Marina. Remember, Red Snapper has 2 different recreational seasons. The only fish in the Gulf of Mexico that has confusing seasons is Red Snapper. There's a state season, and then there's a federal for-hire season. In Florida, our state season is June, July, and then weekends in September, October, and November. So if you're a private recreational angler, you're abiding by that state season, and you will not have the opportunity to catch Red Snapper in August. It'll just be June, July, and then weekends, September, October, and November. That's right. And then for us, federally permitted for-hire guys on charter boats and party boats in the Gulf, it'll be June 1st through end of day August 27th, running continuous. So, no, you will not be able to charter a boat or go on a party boat in October and get Red Snapper. But Gag Grouper will open September 1st and be open for a week, maybe 2, maybe 3. With that, we've got Captain Mike Anderson on the phone. What's going on, buddy?
How are you, pal?
Doing well, my friend. Just another day in paradise, buddy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How are you?
We're good. We're good. No complaints, man. We're a week from the beach.
Oh yeah, it's coming
Oh
up.
yeah. Yep.
So for those who are not aware, Captain Mike's life is broken down with like, oh, I'm excited about spring fishing. Oh, then tarpon season's coming up. Then he does this little beach vacation, and then he's totally enamored with hunting until about like February. Then it starts all over again.
We haven't been hanging out all that long. You got me figured out pretty good.
Very well.
It's pretty accurate. Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
There's football season in there somewhere too, but
oh yeah, for sure.
I skipped over that.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to this week. I mean, other than the weather report looks like we're finally going to get a break from the wind, but a seasoned skipper like myself knows really what that means.
It's just going to get hot.
It's going to be hot. It's going to be hot. I'm grateful because, you're not getting your head kicked in, but oof, it's going to be a warm week if the weather holds the way they're saying. So,
yeah,
but,
for sure.
Hopefully it'll be a good week. Yeah, hopefully it'll be a good week. Looks like the tides are going to slow down some as we get into the week. And that'll make it a little bit challenging, but we've had quite a bit of rain. We had big rain here tonight. So,
Big time.
It's super cool. Yeah, it's super cool outside. So hopefully that'll help keep that water temp in
I feel like
happy place.
Should hopefully balance each other out, right? We're going to have an excruciatingly hot week with moderate winds, moderate seas, finally. But the afternoon thunderstorms have really kicked up. I mean, today it's starting at like almost 11 a.m., noon, these scattered showers started, and they were scattered really almost all day offshore, and then on land for a majority of the day too has got a lot of scattered showers. So all that fresh water in the estuary should hopefully keep that water temperature a little bit more moderate, right?
It should. I mean, we're finally seeing our true summer pattern here.
Yeah.
That's why that water temp kind of climbed as high as it did so early, because we didn't have those afternoon showers. But now that they're kicking in a little bit, it seems like it could balance itself out and kind of stretch this thing out a little bit. We were worried it was going to get really, really tough if those water temps continued. But, with this rain starting up and doing its normal summertime thing, I think it lends itself to probably a really good couple of weeks of fishing here if all goes well.
Yeah, and the water clarity is back to not terrible, but not super gin clear. So good opportunities for fishing wise too.
Yeah, I think that's key. And I was talking about this morning on the Team Mahoney Company show, and I'm shocked I should have brought it up yesterday on our show. I was really happy this week. One of the things that happened to us that I saw, which is a little weird for mid to late June is we were fishing some oyster bars for redfish.
Mm-hmm.
And the redfish were there. We caught a few redfish. But I kept telling my people, make sure you're putting baits in all those mullet. Put baits in all those mullet. Because it wasn't a school redfish. They were just kind of scattered all over the bars. And we caught some 20-inch trout up in 2.5 foot of water.
Whoa.
In with the mullet.
That's shallow.
It's really shallow for big. It's really shallow for big trout at this time of year. But you know, we're not going to complain because we've had, you know, the last year or two, it's been tough just to find, you know, 20-inch trout anywhere.
Yeah.
So just to see some of those big trout is a big positive. But also just letting people know, you know, as the trout and the redfish seem to be doing better.
Yeah.
Make sure you're fishing those big mullet schools. Those big mullet congregations are going to get in there with those. Fish are really lazy feeders, especially when it gets hot.
Yeah.
They don't want to chase stuff around, and the mullet are rooting up in that grass, kicking up all those free crustaceans and shrimp, and crabs, and just making their meals much easier to get a hold of. They don't have to do a lot, just mill around with the mullet. So, you know, remember to, and I know it's an old adage, we talk about it all the time, find the mullet schools, find the mullet schools, find the mullet schools. In the last couple of years, it really hasn't done you a lot of good because we didn't have a bunch of redfish, we didn't have a bunch of big trout,
and we didn't
but
have
it sure seems like, right, we didn't have a bunch of mullet. Good point. I still don't think we have a bunch of mullet, but we are seeing what I would say is a better mullet concentrations than we've seen over the last couple of years as well. So, you know, don't forget to fish those schools and fish them hard.
And also dock lines this time of year, right?
I'll tell you what, I got a report from, I've got a dock line that I absolutely love. It's a south wind dock line. If the wind blows out of the south for a day or two, we usually do really good on it. And one of my guys who I'd shared that spot with told me Saturday that dock line went off. So yes, dock lines are going to be a real big hit here.
Nice.
July, August, you know, it creates such a great shade opportunity.
Yeah.
And fish can get up underneath there and cool down a little bit, especially those that are, I like them on the ICW because there's a lot of moving water there.
Yep.
There's a lot of hard bottom and there's a lot of depth. A lot of dock lines, you know, you're not looking for a dock line that's only, you know, 3 or 4 feet deep. If you can find something that's 6, 7, 8 foot deep,
you're not
then
looking
you're in good
for one
shape.
in the back of the canal either. It's points that you're looking for, right?
Exactly. Points and just, or something that's close to an open flat.
Okay. Yeah.
So they can kind of go in between. A lot of times you'll have a flat and then you'll have I'll call it a canal, but a deeper channel before you get to the docks. So those fish can do both. On the big tides, they can get up there, mill around in the grass, and pick up the crustaceans. And when it gets too hot, they can drop right back down into that canal, and they can work those docks for the shade lines. I mean, it's a great place to find some fish this time of year for sure.
Yeah, giving away the secrets. The old dock line next to the mangrove or next to the grass flats was my go-to. I mean, nowadays with things like the Smart Fishing app from Saltstrong, or really even Google Maps, you can pull it apart. But that Smart Fishing Spots app on Saltstrong makes it like idiot-proof. You just open it, it will highlight those areas for you. But if you open Google Maps, you can find those too. And that's what I used to do at a young age when I was skipping around on a Carolina skiff, was just simply pull up Google Maps, and the little blue dot shows you where you're at in relation to the grass flat. And even if the water's murky, you can still fish that flat and find those dock lines adjacent to the flat real easy. It's satellite imagery, comes in handy in the backcountry.
Well, and here's the other thing. Remember that I've probably been to the South Wind docks probably at least 6 to 10 times. In the last 6 to 10 times I've been there, it hasn't gone off, even with a south wind.
Interesting.
But it's one of those spots that when it goes. and it'll go for a week or two. All of a sudden they'll be kind of stacked up in there. So
nice.
You know, really pick apart what you're looking at. Take your time and really analyze it. You know, find, is there some oyster bars mixed in between the dock lines? Are they old docks or new docks? You know, older docks usually do a little better. And what I'm saying is take your time to look at it and make a note. You know what? There's nothing here today, but I need to look at this from time to time because it looks fishy.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you got a big flat over here, lots of grass, lots of potholes. It's kind of pretty. There's some mullet working that flat. And then this dock line over here, which is adjacent to it, when the wind is right, whatever direction that is, that makes that, you know, dock line fire off, you know, you'll find fish there sooner or later. Just put it in your, you know, deck of cards. Yeah, put it in your deck of cards and keep checking it from time to time. And sooner or later, it will probably pay off.
There it is. All right, brother. We appreciate you. Thanks for all the tips tonight.
All good, my brother. Anytime. Have a fishy week, and look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
All right, man. Looking forward to it. You have a good one. And Bartow Ford, July 30th, right?
That's right. Tuesday, July 30th, 6 to 8 p.m. with the great Eric Bachnick. It should be a good one for sure. Yeah, it should be a good one.
Awesome, brother.
No doubt.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, my friend. Have a great night.
See you, man. That's right. July 30th. Tuesday night, 6 to 8 p.m. at Bartow Ford with Eric Bachnick from Miro Lure. If you haven't seen one of those seminars with Eric Bachnick, you are missing out. I remember I was probably like, I don't know how old I was. I was pretty young, but I was enamored with the intrigue of how in-depth Eric can get about artificial lure fishing. I am not a big artificial lure fisherman inshore. I don't fish much inshore, and if I do fish inshore, it's around the docks with a live bait or a dead bait or a carcass. But this guy is the man behind Miro Lure. So whether it's a soft plastic or a jerk bait or a swim bait or a top dog, he knows it and can break it down scientifically. It's really interesting. So cool seminar for sure. Again, that's Tuesday, July 30th, 6 to 8 p.m. at Bartow Ford. There's free food. You can win free Bull Bay rod, free Ingle cooler, real animal swag. Really, really great event. Plus, Silver Ring Cafe makes some amazing Cubans. So if you're in the area, around the area, that is a good seminar to check out for sure. All right, with that, what is the biggest red snapper caught so far this year? Walter Barr brought in a red snapper that was 21 pounds and change. I want to say it was like 21 and a half pounds. That is our biggest red snapper that I know of so far this year. Let's see. Do you catch keeper gags on the 10-hour trip? Yes and no. We catch a lot of keeper gags on the 10-hour trip. You have a chance to catch a lot of keeper gags. We hook a lot of keeper gags. October, November-ish, when those cold fronts start, the gags come inshore. And we see a lot of gag grouper, definitely November, December, January, February, March, into April, and then they go back offshore. So female gag grouper come inshore at the start of cold front season, October, November-ish, and then they leave once it starts warming up and those cold fronts stop. And they go offshore to spawn February, March, April, offshore in deep water. And those female gags, they swim inshore with the cold fronts to find structure and to find all that food. Then they stay inshore and eat all the bait that hatches in the spring, get super fattened up before they swim well offshore to congregate and spawn. So gags historically have been open the second half of the year, June through the end of December. And typically the best time for gags is October, November, December. Basically Thanksgiving through New Year's Day or New Year's Eve was typically historically the best time to catch a gag grouper. And that time of year, you could definitely see them on the 10-hour. We definitely catch quite a few of them. But gag grouper season is not going to be that way. Last year it opened September 1st, and the reason they chose September 1st is because if they start gag grouper season when those gags are biting well, like for example, if they started it November 1st, the season projection last year, remember the season was supposed to be last year, it was supposed to be like, I want to say it was supposed to be like 2 months or something, I forget. It was supposed to be a while. I think it was September and October. I forget. But we were supposed to get a pretty decent, I think it was September, October, and then it was supposed to close like early November. So it was supposed to be 2 months and change last year because they started it in September. If they started it in November, the season projection was only going to be like 2 or 3 weeks because we catch so many gags that time of year so fast. The quota would be hit a lot faster. The catch rate is higher. You catch more of them faster. The season closes faster, right? So the logic was open them in September. They're a little bit harder to catch. You have to go a little bit deeper to catch them. That's going to slow the catch rate. Slower catch rate means longer season. So that is why the September 1st start date occurred. Now this year, the season is compressed even more. We're only talking about a week or two of season, maybe 3, starting September 1st. We know it's going to open September 1st. So being as though we have maybe 2 or 3 weeks of gag grouper season starting September 1st, the likelihood of catching a keeper gag during that time of year when the water is extremely hot and the gag grouper are super deep is extremely low. Really, the first week, 2 weeks of September, I would be looking at booking a 12-hour extreme, a 39-hour, a 44-hour, or a long-range private charter on the Flying Hub 2. Those would be your 4 options to really have an opportunity at a keeper gag during that extremely short gag grouper season. That would be my suggestions. And I'd book those now because most likely they're already full. If they most likely they're filling up if they're not already full. Can you tell me about yellow edge grouper? I saw it at the fish shop yesterday. It was really pricey. So I would come on down to Don's Dock Seafood Market and get you a yellow edge grouper from our seafood market. They're going to be super fresh, the freshest, and they're going to be much better priced. We're very competitively priced at the Don's Dock Seafood Market. Right now, we don't have any in stock. They are a deep water grouper. Yellow edge grouper generally start around, you can catch them as shallow as like 350, but generally about 400 to 500 foot of water is where they start. And they get as deep as like 600 to 700, maybe 800 foot. Once you get past like 600-700 foot, you start to see more snowy grouper than the yellow edge grouper. Yellow edge grouper is a shallow deep water grouper. We see them about 400 to 600 foot on average. That's where you target those yellow edge groupers. So we don't catch them on our trips because we don't do that deep dropping stuff at Hubbard's Marina often. We used to do it more. We used to do it a lot, but now it's just such a popular thing. It just doesn't really make sense in our schedule. Doesn't say that we might not explore it further, but the way that fishery is going, it's not really sustainable long term. So that business model was kind of pulled back, scaled back at Hubbard's Marina just because a pretty decent sized yellow edge grouper is like a 50-year-old fish. A big yellow edge grouper can be like 60 or 70-year-old fish. They grow really slowly and they do not reproduce well. They're a deeper water fish, so they reproduce slowly, they grow slowly, and that fishery is just being hammered. And so now they're doing a lot of science trying to catch up to it, so we all know how that goes. And I don't think the population of fish can support the effort that's being exerted on it. As other fish have shorter seasons, we see gag grouper, red snapper seasons getting messed with. A lot of people started doing that deep water stuff more and more, and now it's a very common thing, and they are all seeing smaller fish being caught, smaller catches being caught, and that shows a declining fishery, a declining biomass. And it's a fishery that takes a long time to replenish. So little concerned over the deep water fishery, and that's why we're not super active in it ourselves. A, it's really far away, it doesn't fit in our schedule, and C, I don't think it's sustainable long term as a business model. All right, next question. Going out on the 39 hours soon and was going to add the morning 5 hour. Can I load my equipment when I go on the 39 hour? Yes, a lot of people do that. Our good friend Leo Smith does that every time this time of year when it's busier. He goes out in the 5 hour half day in the morning, catches a bunch of bait, and loads his gear early. So that way when he gets on when the trip comes around, he's already got all his gear settled on the boat. But keep in mind that doesn't work on Fridays. That works on Tuesday and Sunday. Tuesday and Sunday, the 5-hour half day goes on the Florida fishermen. So you go on the 5-hour in the morning, then in the afternoon, all your gear is already on the Florida fishermen. You don't have to move it. It's super easy. On Fridays, the Florida fisherman doesn't go on the morning half day generally, unless there's a charter or something happen. Most of the time, you're going to be on the friendly fisherman, so it would be a different boat on the 39 hours. So that is a little catch, but if you're going on a Tuesday or a Sunday 39 hour, it's definitely really, really cool to do that 5-hour morning trip first, because you can get all your gear on the boat early in the morning, and then it's already on the boat when it comes time for the 39 hour. All right, let's see. Saw an article in the no, I like this one. It's funny. Saw an article in Saltwater Sportsman about carnage shots. Are folks at your meetings really watching for this? We actually did a video about this. Is that on our fisheries management page? If it's not, we should add it. That would be a good one. So if you go to, well, let's pop on over to hubbardsmarina.com. On hubbardsmarina.com, under fishing trips, you can scroll down and hit more info. And then under more info is fisheries science and management. This is a really cool page Josh put together, and we do a lot of these cool videos about fisheries management and kind of how fisheries management and science works. We've done a video with the head of NOAA Fisheries in the Southeast. We've done a lot of cool videos on fisheries science and management, and we've consolidated a lot of that information onto this website page. So if you're interested in how to get involved, how to sign up for email lists, how to monitor ACLs and quotas, how to sign up for the Marine Recreational Education Program, there's a cool amount of info on this page. One of the videos that we did is not on here yet, but we'll add it, is all about do scientists or anyone use Facebook photos for management? And let me tell you, they do not. Let me see. We might be able to find it. I guess it'd probably be pretty hard to find. We'll find it after the show and we'll show it to you guys. But long story short, we've done videos on how fishery science works, and it would be impossible to use a Facebook photo to say, oh, they're killing a bunch of these fish. Let's close the fishery. They must have caught a lot of them. That is simply a rumor that goes around social media. People love to spread the rumor. What does happen is enforcement does cruise social media. So if you post a photo of you hugging a manatee, you're going to go to jail. If you post a photo of an undersized or out-of-season fish, you're probably going to get a visit from enforcement. So enforcement does use social media, and they do track social media. There's not enough enforcement. There's not enough funding. So they don't do, in my opinion, as good a job as they could because they are underfunded and under-budgeted. But they definitely troll social media a little bit. Enforcement. Science and management, not at all. Nothing to do with it whatsoever. So your dock shots, kill shots, carnage shots don't close fisheries. That is subjective information that doesn't pass the peer review. A lot of people say, for example, a lot of people are like, I want to report my catch, and they should take recreational data, and we should have an app that we can tell them what we caught every day. That would be great. A lot of people are willing to do that. If that worked, that would be an answer to a lot of prayers. We'd all of a sudden have data. But you can't use self-reported data because there's self-reported data bias. You are more likely to report your good days, less likely to report your bad days. There's also data bias in the fact that you forget some things. There's no checks and balances. There's not enough of a stick to go with that carrot. Plus, on top of all of that, how federal fisheries science works is there has to be a third-party peer review. So even if everybody agrees, all these recreational fishermen are going to join this app tomorrow, they're going to start reporting, we're going to use that data for science and management, they couldn't. Even if everybody wanted to, the NOAA folks, the Gulf Council folks, the state folks, all the rec fishermen said, let's do it tomorrow, everybody agrees, which never happens. But let's say everybody agreed and they wanted to, MSA, the Magnuson-Stevens Act, that governs our federal fisheries, dictates that these fisheries science inputs, these data inputs, have to be input into a stock assessment model, and that stock assessment model spits out an answer to what does the fishery look like? Is it being overfished? Is it undergoing overfishing? And that model and those data inputs then are subjected to a third-party peer review. So they bring these scientists, specialists in from across the world, and they look at the data inputs to see if they pass statistical muster. And are they valid data points? Is there enough, I'm forgetting the data terms, but is there enough validation? So there has to be a certain validation level that the data can pass the muster of. So like, for example, the commercial fishing data, the way it works is commercial fishing boats have GPS recorders that record their movements of their boats all the time. They ping every hour. And then they have to do a hail out to tell the federal government when they're going fishing, where they're going fishing. Then they hail in, tell the government when they're going to be back, what dock they're coming to, what fish they have on the boat. Then when they come back, the seafood dealer that they have to sell their fish to then has to say, this boat had this many fish on it, they fished this area. So two people have to verify what's going on in that boat. Plus, because they have GPS recorders, the federal government can send agents or enforcement to oversee the process of the offload. So now the boat says what they caught, the dealer confirms that's what they actually caught, and then the law enforcement agent on the dock confirms, yes, that's what they caught. So there's checks and balances there. That data meets validation criteria. It can be input in a stock assessment model, and it can pass third-party peer review. Your Facebook photos don't pass third-party peer review, people. So assuming or spreading the rumor that, oh, you posted a bunch of dead fish on the dock, you're going to close the season, is stupid. You sound stupid when you say things like that. And it's not stupidity, it's ignorance. People are ignorant of the process, but 100% has nothing to do with fisheries science. It could be subjective. If you have a bunch of dead fish on the dock and it upsets someone's feelings, then they could go up to a meeting and say, my feelings are hurt, this fish is being overfished, look at all these death shots. That could cause problems. So unfortunately, there is a component of constituencies that can get involved, and they can base their public comment, and they can base their agenda on feelings, and that does happen at fisheries management often, especially at the state level. At the federal level, it's a lot more science-based, so it kind of removes that, which is kind of nice in some regards. So it's very interesting, but hopefully that answered your question. All right, let's give away another free trip. We gave away our 5-hour half day for 2 guests. Let's give away our 10-hour all day. 1 lucky winner, 2 guests, 10-hour all day. Lucky winner is Brian C. Congratulations, Brian from Hudson, on the big win on that 10-hour all day trip for 2 guests. Congratulations. You got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. Also, if you have a question you want answered live during the show, make sure you drop it in a text message to the phone number on the screen as well. So super, super, super important that you do that as well. What should I use when I fish inshore in Johns Pass? When are you fishing? Where are you fishing? What are you fishing for? A lot of, what should I use and when should I? Thank you, Josh, for highlighting that. My brain did not read that question right. So they're asking, what should I use and when should I fish inshore in Johns Pass? What I would do is I would pop on over to the Google machine and I would type in smart fishing tides to Google. Josh is going to help us out there by typing in smart fishing tides, and you pick Johns Pass, And they're going to give you 3 days. So this is exactly what it looks like if you are not a Salt Strong member. They'll give you 3 days. If you're a Salt Strong member, they'll give you like 2 weeks, and it will tell you a 9 out of 10 score. So you can see today was a 6.7, tomorrow's a 6.2, Tuesday is a 5.5, and that's out of 10. And the reason the number is going down is because we are on the backside of a full moon. So as we move away from that full moon, you can see here, this is the tide graph. So this was today, the tide graph. This is tomorrow. Tide graph gets a little bit lower, a little bit slower. And then Tuesday, really slow, big tides. So that's why the number is going down. Less moving water means less lunar major and minor tidal times and tidal periods for those fish to chew. So you can see today there's some opportunities, 7 p.m., 8 p.m., early morning, where these bars are really high, and that means the fish are going to be biting best. On Tuesday, the highest score is 6. So that really slow tide means really slow bite, and it's really warm. So I would use tools like this, Smart Fishing Tides, and if you become a member, you can see even further into the future. But using tools like that look at the tide, look at the weather, and tell you when and where to fish is super, super helpful. The Smart Fishing Tides app from Salt Strong is just top notch. It really takes everything and boils it down. Inshore doesn't work offshore. Keep that in mind. These numbers, these forecasts don't apply offshore because offshore the tides are different. Kind of the trends will hold the same a little bit, but it definitely, you're looking at a specific point in a specific area, and the tides have a bigger effect inshore than they do offshore. Offshore definitely has an effect, but you don't know the tidal times, so it's really difficult. But definitely using these tools work. Apart from those tools, if you just wanted to kind of fly by the seat of the pants, I would suggest definitely this time of year, fishing around John's Pass is going to be best at night, early morning, just around sunrise, a little after, and then right around sunset and through the night. Because water is going to be cooler, fish are going to be more active. It's going to concentrate the fish around dock lights and bridge lights, concentrate the bait, and thus concentrate the fish. If you're fishing during the day inside the pass, I would be fishing right on the bridges, right on the docks for mangrove snapper, small pieces of shrimp, small hook. Maybe a bigger shrimp around some of the docks. You might pick up a snook during the day. But generally, if you're going to fish John's Pass, I would do it from 3 a.m. until 7 a.m. then quit, and then maybe come back out around 7 p.m., 7 p.m., and fish until 10 p.m. Those would be the 2 times that I would go, really. And I would fish for snook, live shrimp, live pinfish, pigfish, the grass grunts, or throw a soft plastic or a flare hawk or a swim bait around the bridge lights, dock lights. What are the red grouper biting more right now, live pinfish or frozen bait? We're seeing the red grouper pretty well on big live pinfish and then thread fins as well. Bigger dead baits and solid live pinfish have been working really well. Big baits are the ticket, and going deep, definitely seeing more red grouper on the extreme trip, 39-hour, 44-hour. You got a chance on a 10-hour too. On a 10-hour, I'd definitely be using the pinfish or maybe even double thread fin, but you got to drop that to bottom much slower. Definitely good ideas there. Oh, let's see. Fish in the 39-hour end of July. What pelagics might be around that time of year? Around July, we see some of the wahoo still. You have a chance for blackfin tuna. We see potentially a cobia, mahi-mahi, never know. Maybe a sailfish, but I would say probably your best bet is going to be blackfin tuna, maybe a wahoo that time of year. You never know. Let's see. Next question. Hello, my question is about the Hubbard's logo tattoo for 39-hour trips. What exact logo can you get? Can you show an example of it? So remember the Hubbard's logo tattoo. If you get a Hubbard's Marina tattoo, you get an opportunity for 2 free 39-hour trips. We had one on the boat today, actually. It was pretty cool to see. But let's see here. How do I switch photos in here, Josh? You can do it?
You can't do it one by one like this.
Oh, really? So I just got to blow them up each one at a time. I thought there was a way to do a slideshow. Oh, this works. All right. I'm going to go to share screen so you guys can see. All right, so these are some examples. This guy, Steve, was on the boat today. Pretty cool. Beautiful fish tattoo. Oh, there we go. So these are some examples of the tattoos. So it has to be on the lower leg, and it has to be either lower leg or lower arm. And it has to be dominant. So if you're a 110-pound female, or you're someone like me who's 6'7", 270, our size of tattoos would be extremely different, right? Because a dominant tattoo on a 110-pound female forearm is going to be a lot different than the size of a tattoo on like my forearm, right? So it definitely depends on the person as far as the size of tattoo. So there's no set, oh, it has to be this many inches. It just has to be dominant. And you can see what I mean by dominant. This is fully stretching across the lower leg or lower arm of these individuals. So as long as it is dominant, it counts. And you can see some people do the logo. Some people do some of our t-shirts. This one's pretty cool. I like Jason's tattoo. So some people do the fish, basically the inside of the logo. A lot of people have done the inside of the logo. Some people do the whole logo. The whole logo. So people have taken variations. Somebody's going to do a hogfish. They're going to put a hogfish in the middle and do Hubbard's and Marina. Somebody else said they were going to do a black grouper. So you can switch it up. You can come up with an idea, shoot it over to me. Email me at info@hubbardsmarina.com. Email me your idea, and we can sign off on it, and you can move forward. And you get 2 free 39-hour trips for that tattoo. So hopefully that answered your question. Let's see. I did a 5-hour trip on Monday, and my wife caught a keeper red grouper. That is pretty awesome. You don't see a lot of keeper red grouper on the 5-hour half day, but it does happen from time to time. Then they asked, do you have to pay a fee when they have to raise the drawbridge? Nope. That is a service that is offered. You do have to pay $50,000 if you open the bridge and don't need it. So that is a big fine. So if you call the bridge and prank call them and ask for an opening, that kind of thing, or open them when you didn't need to open them, they can fine you $50,000. But it is totally free when you open and close the bridge for boaters. It's a vascular bridge. It is the last vascular bridge with access to the Gulf of Mexico, and it's a federally managed channel. So it is the only federally managed channel vascular bridge that gives Bogosiega Bay access to the Gulf of Mexico. So it's important. Johns Pass is important. And as of, I think it was 2018 or something like that, 78% of the red grouper landed in the Gulf of Mexico come through Johns Pass. Crazy, crazy numbers. So more than three quarters of the entire red grouper catch in the entire Gulf of Mexico comes right through Johns Pass. Pretty awesome. We're kind of the best ever. Do I have a shot at a red snapper on the 12-hour night trip? You have a shot. Is it common? Not as much. So the 12-hour night trip is going to be fishing anywhere from about 25 to 35 miles. Do we catch keeper red snapper? Yes. Does it happen often? No. Do we target them? Not really. You're just inside of that red snapper area. We're fishing on a 12-hour night trip about 100, maybe 120, maybe 130 foot of water, but generally about 120 foot to 100 foot on that 12-hour night trip and about 25 to 35 miles from Johns Pass. Red snapper, we generally start fishing for them about 45, 50 miles from shore and about 140 foot of water or more. So The 12-hour night snapper is right on that borderline where you start to see red snapper. So 10-hour all day, not really likely. 12-hour night snapper, possible. 12-hour extreme, very possible. Probable, that's what we target. 39, 44-hour is the same. If I'm going on a 12-hour extreme trip, is there enough time to brine your baits on the ride out? No. Really, you don't need to on the extreme trip because the bait's still going to be frozen. So not really important to brine the bait. I wouldn't worry about brining the bait. Brining the bait becomes important on, say, a 39-hour trip because we're out there for so long, the bait's going to start thawing, so you want to try to keep it brined. But now, you don't even have to do that because now we get fresh bait on our 39 and 44-hour trips, and we brine them for you. So we already have a brine barrel going at the back of the boat. So all you have to do is go back there and grab 6 or 7 of them, bring them up to your spot in a bucket, use them, and then when you're running low, hop back there to the brine barrel and grab a few more. Then you don't ever have to worry about brining your bait. So brining your bait really isn't a thing anymore because of that brine barrel and fresh bait that we're getting. So we're getting much better quality bait, and we're paying for it, and Brian, our bait guy, is going to catch it fresh. We're hoping that can continue. Right now it's working well, but as we move into fall, we'll see if he can stay on top of catching us that amount of bait for every 39 and 44-hour trip. But right now he has been. But once we get into fall, it might be a little bit harder. But we are currently continuing to brine everyone's bait on the 39 and 44-hour trip for you. 12-hour stream, you don't need to brine the bait because it's still frozen. And then 10-hour trips and stuff like that, it's not important. So I wouldn't really worry about brining the baits anymore for now. All right, so we gave away the 5-hour, we gave away the 10-hour. Let's do our Hubbard's Marina Swag Pack giveaway. Hubbard's Marina Swag Pack giveaway. Let's see who the lucky winner is of the Swag Pack giveaway. Winner is Will Gillette. Congratulations, Will, on the Swag Pack. Remember, you got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. Your full home address to the phone number on the screen. Are the yellow eyes, next question, are the yellow eye snapper common when red snapper fishing? No, not in our area. You get a lot of yellow eye snapper or silk snapper down south, around the Keys, around the Tortugas, around Pulley Ridge. But once you get north of like Naples, yellow eye snapper are very much less common. We do sometimes see them out deep, but we catch a handful here and there in our area. Not a ton of them for sure, but we do see them. And I've caught one before. They're really good eating, but they're not common. So pretty cool though. I saw your silky, they're called silk snapper, yellow eye snapper, really good eating. And we sell them at the Don's Dock Seafood Market too, when they're in stock. I'll be there July 23rd with my Penn Squall. Is it good for the 39-hour trip? Yeah. I mean, personally, I don't like Penn, but it will work. And the level wind isn't the best for offshore saltwater fishing, but it will work for sure. It'll get the job done. Keep in mind, you want to look at drag ratings. For a 39-hour trip, a good kind of all-around drag rating would be about 35 pounds of drag or more. If you're 30 pounds of drag or less, probably not going to be strong enough to handle bigger fish. So you might want to rent a rod as well. But you could bring your rod and maybe use it with like 40, 50-pound tests for mangrove snapper fishing, and then use the rental if you're going to drop down bigger tackle. So look at your drag rating. That's going to be important. What is the best bait for a yellowtail snapper on the 39-hour trip? I personally, a lot of people ask, what's the best rig to fish? I personally will fish the same rig the whole time. Somebody asked me today, how should I set up my chicken rig? Don't, is what I told them. So I always fish the same rig on a 39-hour trip. You put your egg sinker on your main line, you put a swivel, a 4 or 5 foot leader, and your hook. Use a single hook when I'm using live bait. Use a double snell hook if I'm using dead bait, and that does not change. Helps me catch scamp, yellowtail, mangroves, grouper, snapper, everything. I personally am going to always use that rig. If it's super, super slow, summertime doldrums, might do a knocker rig, but not during red snapper season when there's a bunch of people on the boat. I might do some slow pitch jigging, which is going to be a different setup in the bow of the boat because that's a better area to slow pitch jig fish. But I'm not ever going to really go to a chicken rig or anything else. But some people do, and using squid is a good idea for yellowtail. I prefer, if I'm dropping down for a yellowtail, I'm going to use a piece of squid that's about 2 inches long and maybe a quarter inch wide, quarter inch wide. So like a quarter inch cube, that's about 1.5 inches to 2 inches long. Little strip of squid. That seems to be a really good option for the yellowtail snapper for some reason. Is shrimp better for mangrove snapper? And I would say it depends on the depth. If I'm fishing 100 foot of water or less, 5 hour, 10 hour, 100 foot of water or less, I'm going to use shrimp for mangrove snapper. If I'm fishing closer to 100 foot or beyond, I'm going to use cut thread fin on a double snell rig for mangrove snapper. What can you cast net for bait fish? I would say your best bait fish is going to be what we provide, which is the thread fins or the squid, or you could buy some shrimp or some pinfish. That would be your best bet, most likely. Let's see, what other questions do we have here? Did we answer all the questions? Let's see. What do you think the brown film is on top of the water 5 to 10 miles out? It's actually on the beach too. It could be pollen, and then it's another type of algae that we get in the summertime that is really crazy word. It's like leposium. I forget the scientific term for it, but it's a non-dangerous common algae that is in warm water. It looks like algae is on the water, like brown, yellowish tint to it. It looks like pollen, like when pollen's really bad and it gets on the top of your car and it's like the yellowish brown film, that's what we see on top of the water. And we see the same thing offshore. After a really strong east wind, it blew, remember, for like 4 days, 5 days out of the east. So all of Florida got blown offshore, and then we see that often on the surface of the water. So it's like pollen and this kind of algae stuff. And it looks like almost sand on top of the water. It's weird looking. But it's not dangerous. It's not red tide. It's nothing like that. It doesn't kill fish. And it is common. We see it every year in the summer, especially after a strong east wind. My husband just booked a 12-hour grouper trip with you on September 1st. I assume they are talking about a 12-hour extreme. What is the 3 must-haves for that trip? 5. What are the 5 must-haves? 3 to 5 must-haves. If you rent a rod and reel, you have all your tackle. If you're bringing your own rod and reel, I would bring at least a reel with about 40 pounds of drag, rigged up with 60 or 80 pound main line, fishing 80 to really 100-pound test leader, generally 100-pound test leader, and like a 10-aught hook, 6 to 8 ounce lead, big live bait. So get a lot of live bait, 2-3 dozen pinfish, big baits, big tackle, big fish. But you need heavy drag. You need at least 40 pounds of drag or more. You need a heavy rod. You need 80, really 100-pound leader or more, and a big hook. And besides that, bring in some Gatorades or some other hydration drinks that are going to give you some electrolytes is a good idea. Bring in some food, some solid protein to keep you fueled up. I like making sure you have a lot of water. It's always a good idea. We do have water on the boat, but I like bringing a jug of water with me on the extreme trip. I bring a jug of water with me everywhere. So a jug of water, some hydration drinks, live bait, heavy tackle, good to go. Besides that, think you're about it. I mean, maybe I like bringing a change of clothes in the bag. If it's a little wet on the ride out, you can switch into some dry clothes. Wear layered clothing, lots of sunscreen, sunglasses, good ideas, hat. All right, do we have another question or we get them all? That's it, finite. All right, so let's make sure we covered all our announcements tonight. I do have to wake up extraordinarily early and fly out to Houston tomorrow, so I want to make sure we covered that. Oh, make sure you vote. We talked about that in passing, but we need your help. You got to vote every day between now and the end of June. Best charter boat, best local tourist attraction, and best gift shop. It's right on our website page, so make sure you vote every day between now and June 30th. I think I covered everything else, so we did a good job tonight. Thank you guys for watching, and thanks for being a part of our Hubbard's Marina family. Hopefully, we'll see you guys every Sunday night right here on the Hubbard's Marina live stream show. If you're a supporter, we're going to do a mobile supporters after show, so tune in probably around 8:55. We'll be rolling on that. So tune in for that one, and if you're on a supporters group, make sure you pop on over for the supporters show about 8:55 for that special mobile supporters after show. And then we'll see all of you guys next week, 7:30 p.m. for a post-Golf Council meeting update. We're going to be talking about federal for-hire data collection. We're going to be talking about lane snapper. We're going to be talking about gag grouper and more this week at that federal fisheries meeting. So we'll see. Going to be a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 on gags, but we should hopefully have that information coming to you soon. So stay tuned. We'll see you next week for another episode. Let's find out who won our 39-hour trip for one lucky winner. 39-hour trip for one lucky winner. Coming at you now. Lucky winner is Joey Klamusko. Congratulations, Joey. You've got a 5 minutes or less. Watching from Orlando, you got 5 minutes or less, Joey, to claim your free trip by texting us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. Somebody asked about the supporters group. It's $4.99 a month. You get behind-the-scenes access, more connectivity, more communication, and access to that weekly after show. So check out our supporters group. It's right on our website page. You can check out the supporters group as well. If you click Fishing Trips under more info, you'll find the supporters group information there too. Hopefully we'll see you next week for another episode. Thanks for being a part of our Hubbard's Marina family. Tight lines. We're out.